Karen Lovely here. Good morning. All right. So excited. Beyond excited, super duper excited, because one of my most favorite guests of all time is here with me. And it's been a little too long in time since our last podcast, but I want to introduce my dear friend, and I think he's the human superhero, because he's former retired 30-year Navy SEAL. Oh my God. Master Chief Special Warfare Operator. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Viola. Woo! Good morning.
Karen.
Yeah.
You're too kind, and you're always so wonderful to me. I appreciate it. It has been a while, huh?
Yeah, but life, as we know it, is unpredictable, and unprecedented times we're in, and yeah, it's been a while, but I understand. And, you're an overachiever like me. I'm a recovering overachiever, but you're a busy guy, Seriously.
So if you're recovering overachiever, what does that mean? You just dial it down a couple notches?
It means I do nothing. Sit around, 2 martini lunch, maybe go ride a horse.
Oh my God, that's funny. I do nothing. That's how we recover.
Maybe go do a little shopping online.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. But basically nothing. No.
That's awesome. Well, I assume your mission's still the same, helping people out, right?
Yeah, I know, right? No. I mean, if you're recovering, you do a complete 180. You just do complete opposite. But no, I mean, so dial it down. My God, that's hilarious, because as a recovering overachiever, I think I do more today than I've ever done. But what's recovered? My mind.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the neuroplasticity has a chance to sit there and reset itself and do what it needs to do to be productive and effective and efficient for whatever your tasks are. That's good.
Yeah.
That's healthy.
Very healthy. So I do more physically than normal, but it's connecting the mind and the heart, but also the key is not be at the effect of circumstances, external conditions. Is before I was so reactive, and everything that was happening outside of myself would trigger me. And this is the human condition. And
yeah.
Right? And so now in my recovery, I do more, have bigger, grander goals and intentions, and my purpose is even expanded. Thank you to the pandemic and COVID. It's actually escalated everything to an even larger, higher degree. So, the recovery has been calm the mind, align the conscious mind to the subconscious, to the unconscious mind in a very positive, optimistic, powerful way. And there's my recovery, which has me, be super.
That's beautiful. No, I like it. And I think you said something really telling there in a positive way. I think that's a choice too. I think you've chosen to, for lack of a better term, sync everything up. Like when you're shooting a rifle in the SEAL team for long distance, it's headspace and timing, right?
Mm.
So you have to have the right headspace and the timing for the bullet to engage and stuff like that, so it can do what it's designed to do. And I think that's what you're doing, is you're doing good headspace and timing to allow yourself to be more productive in a positive way.
Yes.
And you're making that resilience that much more better. Much more better. That's funny. In a better way to be more productive for yourself and those that you encounter. I think that's awesome. Well done.
Well, thank you. And there's a sense of calm now. Like it's always stormy and so dramatic before, the before shot. And now it's just like, well, as much as possible. It's like, and I'm a AAA personality, but it's also like, hey, whatever, sup, is hey. Is that what I've been proactively choosing, is to be calm and not so, over the top reactive. So,
well, and you're right. I think people need to distinguish between reactive and responsive. You're choosing a response that's appropriate for whatever's going down, as opposed to just a knee-jerk reaction,
right?
Metaphorically speaking, and that's good because you're protecting yourself and you're protecting your mornings. Because what happens when you freak out is you raise the cortisol, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is your stress, and then you're less intentional. Or it sounds like right now you're moving more intentionally towards your goals, and you're going outside and you're being active and you're cultivating relationships, whether they're with others or with inanimate objects or your animals that you have on your farm. I mean, that's good. That's wonderful. That's super healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
Well, thank you. And it saved my life. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't even be here if I didn't get this handled in my mind.
I just got chills. I'm so happy that you are here because you're doing great things, and I hope that you continue to do great things.
Oh, yeah. I would just be a basket case if I weren't an overachiever. Like, I'm still an overachiever, but not a crazy, like, bad crazy one. Now I'm a good crazy one. There's a distinction.
There is. Yeah.
Right?
You're using your powers for good.
Exactly. And speaking of which, I always will go toward the Navy SEAL thing because I'm so enthralled with the superhuman Navy SEAL, everything about it, and what it takes to achieve that. But you are so much more. And, we'll get to the topic in a moment, but you have an MA, you're an NRP, I don't even know what that is, a PPO, is that what, hip hop? Are you a DJ? Like, what is that,
So the NRET is a National Registry Emergency Paramedic. So it's National Registry Emergency Medical Technician Paramedic. So that's a mouthful. That's why they do the little alphabet behind. Then PPO is a Personal Protection Officer. So you have to go through some courses and know how to react and, what the state law is and what you can do. And that's for helping or protecting high visible clients or people that are high value that might be kidnapped. So you just kind of, you have to get, in the military I was under a different set of rules and authorities and instructions. And then when you get out, you don't have any of those. So you have to go get vetted and certified and go get a certification saying, yes, I can be a personal protection officer. So it's like a bodyguard, so to speak.
Oh, nice. I love that.
And there's armed and unarmed. So you have to do both of them.
Oh my God. I love that. Oh my God. Yeah. I've been very privileged. My clients have invited me. I get to hang out with very high level celebrities. Can't name names, but I was like, I never see their bodyguards. But then finally, I see these guys all in black. With the little here, it's like the FBI, on location. These bodyguards. It was like Navy SEAL style, and I was like, oh my God, there they are. And so I always aspired to have my own bodyguard. That's so funny. Okay, I just had to come clean with that. I wanted to be at a level where I could have my own bodyguard. Then you're somebody. That's awesome. Okay. And I'm not surprised. But, you have a master's from Tufts University. You have, one credential after another, and not to disrespect any of that. But also I came from a family of geniuses, highly educated. My grandmother has a master's from Radcliffe, which wasn't even Harvard then. And my dad, PhD, master's, my uncles and aunts, blah, 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 blah. And not to discount it, maybe I am a little bit, is that just because they had all those degrees, there was still something missing with them emotionally and spiritually and even mentally, where it's almost like you have all these things, which is amazing, but the biggest draw to you is the energy you emit, your personality, but you're so personable, so humble. And I mean, to be a Navy SEAL, you think, oh, and you're just so easy to talk to and have so much more depth, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. And truth be told, most humans, they can't relate to the Navy SEAL thing or even all the degrees. I'm all about relating as a human being. But of course, I'm your greatest fan, when it comes to
that's
who you
beautiful.
are.
And thank you for the kind words. And I agree with you. There's a lot of for lack of a better term, educated idiots out there. And that
oh, you know my family.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean
no, it's true though.
But we talked about that the other day, just about the holistic person, and so we focus on one thing and we neglect another, and I don't think it helps the overall human condition,
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you being so realistic and compassionate with me, and I think that's what you've helped me do in a lot of ways, is clarify my intentions. How can I reframe doing stuff? And I think, from causing harm to how can I contribute meaningfully. And I think these podcasts help people in a way that they may not have considered approaching different problem sets. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just think the whole thing with like you said, the emotional, I think you said, what was it, EQ, right? Emotional.
Yes, EQ.
Intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I think you and I talked about the emotional maturity on stuff too, because as well as I do, you've probably met a lot of 40-year-old adolescents.
Oh my God.
Man,
yes.
that behavior is unacceptable. Why are you behaving? Why are you reverting back to that 16-year-old child that got wounded, or the 7-year-old individual that didn't get their way? You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another human condition element is we're all arrested in our development to some degree or another, unless we consciously grow up. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's just that fostering of the humility and extending grace where you can.
Yes.
It's when people become self-righteous that hubris comes in, and it's just like, that's uncalled for, and it's not helpful.
No, it's counterproductive. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's this arrested development runs deep, and there's so much on that. And hey, that was me. I was absolutely arrested in my emotional development because I didn't know. Sister. Yeah.
Yep. But I think we all have to go through those phases, like when your parents watch you grow up and they're like, well, they're just going to have to learn it. And some people snap out of it and they become self-aware. And then some people just continue because that's all they know. And it's their best friend, their buddy, that they don't want to abandon, which is that childlike behavior,
Yes, but it's also neuronal patterning. And, we're actually hardwired early on. 0 to 19 years old, it's all set in stone. Closer to age 2 and under the age of 8. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Yeah.
But, okay, so wait. If that's the case, are you not able to upgrade your software if you're hardwired?
Great question. You absolutely can, which is what I do. I'm like the geek squad for the human brain. And so, and you can upgrade it. But we also have to do search and destroy and get rid of the viruses. So we got to go in and they're all dormant and unconscious, buried deep, 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 way below the surface. And it's not just the subconscious mind. It is so deathly unconscious to us, and it dictates our life and we don't even know it. So yes, we can go in. Absolutely. I mean, I do believe, based on what I've learned from Louise Hay's work, that the brain is the computer. And
absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we can absolutely go in and not just upgrade, we can install brand spanking new. And that's what neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to be plastic, pliable, and continue to grow. And that's what we want to do. And not just grow in what we know, everything lies in what we don't know, that we have no idea to even look for.
Yeah, and you know what? That's well said. I love that, Karen. That's brilliant. Because, one of the things I would tell people, don't be afraid to suck at things,
right.
because you're going to, you didn't know this before, so you had to learn it. So it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. Take it easy on yourself. But I think we put so many backstops, or like you said, I like how you said the search and destroy type thing. And there was a show called Halt and Catch Fire, right? Mm-hmm. Which is it basically catches a virus in your brain And the way the programmer put it in the brain was, or in the computer, was to find what was causing the problem and get rid of it and burn
Bingo.
it.
Yes.
Just burn it out of that memory core,
Oh.
And I have to agree with you, because I used to joke that, before the Pentium processors came out, I was like the 686 or the 866 processor, which is like super DOS related, and there was no, digital anything. So I had a slow processor, and I've been upgrading my processors as I get older, so to speak.
Yeah, me too. And I had to do a complete overhaul. I had to smash that thing, the computer on the ground to pieces and like rebuild it from scratch. Was my story. Like, so scary. And you'd never know it.
I think you've done a good job. I think you've done a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So before we even get to our amazing topic, I just want to cover some really important things. Now, you talked about the podcast. I want to tell you something. When I went on this morning just to do my extra research, as I always do, so I Google you, and there shows up your LinkedIn profile, some videos, and then the next thing, no joke, is our podcast. Can you believe that? Oh, yeah, I didn't even know. So look how much impact you have.
That's super sweet. And what I was trying to do, too, it's funny, is I was updating my LinkedIn profile to put your podcast and a couple others that I've done on my page. So when people say, hey, do you have any multimedia or social media stuff? Absolutely, because you were the first one that introduced me to this. And I was a little, I was very scared to do this because of, Navy SEALs are always writing books or doing that. I didn't want it to be about necessarily me. I wanted it to be about we and what we can accomplish as humans, and what we put our mind to.
Well,
so
it is a we.
That popped up.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe it, truth be told. I mean, not because of you, but I was like, oh my God. So on the first page of Google shows our podcast because it's all about my hashtag empowering you through us.
Yeah,
right.
I love that, and I think when I met you at Secret Knock, that's exactly you and I resonated on that. We had that same vibration. It's like, yes, we're on the same mission to better the human race, and let people be the best version of themselves. For cliche-ish as that may sound, but they got to put the work in.
Yeah. Oh. Absolutely. And that's the deal breaker for most people. And so I just want you to know what we're doing together is all about paying it forward and passing on the wisdom and through experiences more than anything. And I have to say, your podcast is one of the most popular, and it is because of the Navy SEAL component. Like, and you earned that. That was no walk in the park, clearly. And if it works, we'll take it. But to be at that level, because my clientele are elite. If I'm a recovering overachiever, which, by the way, is just a recovering self-sabotager. Ooh! Woo!
Oh my God, that's brilliant. I love how you reframe that. And you know what? You're right. That's the antithesis of an overachiever. Yeah, well said.
Yeah, and it's an addiction. It's the same addiction wiring in the brain, is that I was addicted to overachieving just like any drug or any self-sabotaging habit. It was an addiction to cover up and mask the pain of feeling like such a loser and a failure, and to cover up what I didn't even know was clearly self-hatred. Now, in my recovering process, I realized how much I hated myself. And I didn't even know it. I just knew I didn't like myself, but it was hatred, loathing. And that was super enlightening to see that. And the overachieving was just mask and cover up the deep-seated unconscious pain and fear. So I want to address that, which is really incredible, because that's what it's all about. The self-sabotage is predominantly unconscious, and that's what keeps people down, takes people out, and stops people from reaching their highest, best, purest, truest potential for what they want in their life, which has nothing to do with, being an Olympic athlete or a Navy SEAL or getting a degree. It doesn't matter. And then we're talking about Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook with no degree. He didn't make it in college, right?
Well, it sounds like you're detoxing from yourself.
Yeah, my own worst enemy, me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't get out of your own way. And, and I think that's a lot of people because they get stuck in what they know. They can't get to where they need to be by not doing that hard look at themselves. Say, I don't like this person in the mirror. I don't like that about me. I need to do something about it. It's like I was just telling my wife the other day, I go, everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change themselves.
Oh,
and
genius.
That's the only way you can get it going is you got to start with yourself, man. Yep. Do an introspective look and do some inventory and say, you know what? I tend to interrupt people when they talk. I tend to not have a filter on my mouth, and I think out loud, and that's distracting to people, and they don't understand where I'm coming from. So if those are the case, just take a beat, take a breath, and say, what's the best thing for what's going on right now, without abandoning your values or principles, but just saying, hey, how best should I engage in this endeavor? But yeah, you're right. I love that detoxing or that lack of sabotaging yourself. And that I think is self-love too, because I don't think a lot of people love themselves.
Nope.
They don't even like themselves.
No. And they don't even know it. It's almost like they don't even realize how much, because I didn't. I mean, I knew I was like, I don't really like me, but I didn't realize the depth of how much, I hated me. And everything about me and my life and my parents, there was just a lot there. And I couldn't agree with you more. And here's what's weird is we have to train for self-love. Navy SEAL style. Right? Like, seriously. Like, whoop, whoop. It's a mass vacation.
Well, and it's funny you should say that because I was helping a kid. My son gave me this kid's number and said, hey, he wants to become a Navy SEAL. What do you got to do? And I go, just simplify your life, man. Take out all the distractions, all the clutter, and find out what your focus is. And go after that. Declutter your life, both in your space and in your mind and in your house. But there's so much noise, background noise, that people don't take time to do that introspective look. So yeah, I agree with you on that. And that's what Navy SEALs do is we declutter our situation and we say, okay, what's the simplest thing to do? Let's do that. And then once we have that fundamentally perfect, for lack of a better term, or we have the fundamentals, then we start adding the complexity and the sophistication to it. And just we layer on layer, but you have to go down, break it down to parade rest or put the car on blocks or whatever analogy you want to use to be able to do the work on yourself. But, a lot of people don't want to do the work. And they want to stay that 40-year-old adolescent.
Yeah, exactly. And then they wonder why they're complaining and then they blame what they don't have in their life on everyone and everything. Don't even get me started, right? Oh, it's the president. Oh, it's the economy. Oh, it's the neighbor. Seriously. Take responsibility. Now, here's an amazing quote. I'm going to do my quote first, and you're going to do your quote, and that will be the rest of the podcast. But here's my quote by a genius. You ready?
Yeah.
And this has everything to do with what we're talking about in terms of, let me just read it. Life will tempt you by thinking you can do it yourself. You can't.
Oh my God!
Stephen Viola, Max Perdiem, Inc.
Oh my God! I just blushed over a podcast because I was like, I was expecting like Albert Einstein or Lafayette or some Toyeski. Yeah. How sweet are you? That's very kind of you.
Yeah, isn't it true? People think, oh, I got this. I got my life under control. I don't need anything. But life sucks and the politics, blah blah blah. No way. Again, this circles back to, thank goodness you accepted getting on, being on the podcast in the beginning. I didn't realize it was like one of the first that you did.
Yeah, you introduced me to it, and I didn't know what to expect or how to do it. I think we talked for like almost 2 hours, that first one.
Probably.
Yeah, you just draw so much out of me that I don't consider, and I don't know that I'm afraid of it, but I just never thought of it in that context. So, I tell you all the time, thank you for drawing that out of me and making progress with me, because I think every interaction is interesting. Some we can take away and some we can discard. And with you, I take more away than I discard, because it, for lack of sounding selfish, it helps me be a better human being so that I can help others.
Exactly. And that is my divine purpose, and vice versa. I mean, listen, this is a two-way street, and we both get so much out of it. And then in us getting so much out of it, just between us in the podcast, I'm telling you, to be on the first page of Google, and I have no marketing plan. I just post when I feel like it and when I have time. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how it got there. I have no idea. But I can tell you
That's
this.
Cool, though.
Yeah. Thank you. And also, people love to hear what you have to say. I did when I met you. You were on the stage. You said so many profound things that were so simple. It was like, I got to know this guy, you know? And
well,
here we are.
I appreciate that. Well, likewise, you simplify a lot of things, and it's like I said, that's the key to being a Navy SEAL is you're fundamentally perfect as possible. And then you can go forward and do all the sophisticated wazoo, stuff. And it's, it's not that we're superhuman. It's just we take the time and we invest it because, like you said, that quote is, life will tempt you, you can do it yourself, but you can't. Is everything's a team effort. Even though when it's an individual thing, people are counting on you to be socially responsible, to be civically minded, and to be, metabolizing your experiences in a way that's going to be regulating the system in a positive way, stimulus, and then there's those that don't, so you have to engage them or take them offline and say, what's going on? Is everything okay at home? Is everything okay in your brain? And it's okay to get help.
Yes.
We all need help at one point or another.
Absolutely, without question. So I have a big question for you. I want to know, when did you say, that's it, I want to be a Navy SEAL? I don't think we ever talked about that. Yeah.
Well, I think we might have, but not on one of your podcasts. It was at Secret Knock. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, man, a buddy of mine was working out really hard. He was getting in shape. I go, hey, I want to do that because I was 2 years in the Navy. I was bored. I was like, this sucks. I want to get out. I was on an aircraft carrier, and it was hard. A lot of sacrifice, jet fumes. I mean, I tell people being in the Navy is like being in prison with a chance of drowning.
Oh my God.
And, but the Navy did really good things for me, presented a lot of opportunities. But, when you're 22, 23, it's like you're having a good time, but it's like there's got to be something more out there. And I think that's what inspired me is like I just had this thing that says, hey, you're destined for more. You're going to use your powers for good. You got to do something else. And then this opportunity popped up. I was like, well, hey, I was looking for a job before I found this one, and worked out with my buddy. And he goes, I go, what are we working out for? He goes, we're going to go to BUDS. I go, what's BUDS? He goes, it's where they train Navy SEALs. I go, what's a Navy SEAL? And he's like, you don't know what that is? I go, no. I mean, that was back in the 80s. And so learned a little bit more about it and failed numerous times doing the entry test. And then, fell back, reassessed, and then reengaged, and here I am, And I think that's just, like I said earlier, it's metabolizing those experiences and engaging in a manner that's going to be positive later on down the road instead of just being stuck there and not doing it. But, so Navy SEAL just kind of fell in my lap, and then, the standard line was chicks dig them and guys think they're cool type stuff. But it went so much more beyond that, like when we do our psyche valves, when they were doing the entry level stuff is, what motivates you? I said, so I want people to be able to, the freedom and the right to express their opinion, whether I agree with them or not, because I believe that's what we're endowed with through our Creator and through the Constitution. And I want mothers to be able to walk on the beach with their babies or wherever they want to walk, unfettered, without fear, and just live a happy, productive life. That's what really was at the core of what I wanted to do, is just make sure people live their life to their fullest in the safest and best way that they could.
Okay, perfect segue into your quote. Because I asked you, what topic do you want to discuss? And you immediately responded. And so this has everything to do with what you just said. So go ahead and read the quote, and then I'm going to connect.
Oh, the one I sent you the other day?
Yes. And what
I'm going to do...
Oh, go ahead.
The one that I wanted to do was just the shorter version. I sent you the longer version.
No, just do the that's perfect. Just the short version. Because that's,
the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. And that's by Albert Einstein. And that just really hit me in a really positive way, because it is. All that stuff's mysterious, and it's beautiful if you take time to ruminate over it, you know?
Well, look, this is what I intuitively felt. I asked you, what had you choose to be a Navy SEAL? It's very mysterious. You'd actually, you know, I don't believe in coincidences. You didn't even know. For buds, I'm like, what's that, a marijuana party? Like, ooh, dude, are we drinking buds? Okay, I'm there. You know, like, what are buds? I didn't even know it was called that. And one of my clients actually called it that. I'm like, what? And now you're saying it, but you didn't even know what a Navy SEAL was. I find it a little mysterious. You know, I don't believe in luck. I really don't. Isn't it a little interesting from this is my perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but you didn't even know, but the opportunity mysteriously presented itself. It resonated, and here you are.
Yeah. No, that's brilliantly stated, because you're absolutely right. That vibration or that resonance drew me in. And I was like, well, let me explore this and see if I'm a part of it. Well, I'm going to tell you, it was no easy day doing that.
Yeah.
It was a square shot to the pants. It wasn't a glancing blow. So I was like, okay, this challenge accepted. And let's get amongst it and see what I got under the hood and get after it. So, yeah, you're right. There was that initial vibration that's like, hey, what's that over there, that drew me in. Well,
it came to you. You're working out. You know what's hilarious? You're like, hey, yeah, give me that 600-pound weight. Like, dude, what are we doing? Like, why are we working out? You know, we go into the bar and then we gotta look, you know, swell, or you know, we gotta work. And that wasn't like that at all. You're just like there working out, but you're like, what are we doing this for? You know what I mean? And there you are. And then poof. And then, but okay, now here's what I firmly believe. It's not so much the flurry, oh, we're going to get there and, you know, we're going to make it. No way. That's not what saved my life. What saved my life is really looking backwards and taking self-inventory and going, there's no way I'm going to keep doing it the same way. And my ability to persevere and accept the challenge. That's really what it takes over and over again. Failing, keep going, don't stop. Unstoppability, yes, and continuing to persevere when you got, you know, you are blindsided. You are, a lot of times my clients say, oh my God, that was like a kick in the pants, a kick in the gut. That was like a blow to my head right there. And that's what you just said in your own way, is you're like, all right, but let's go, let's do this. And that's what gets us there. Not like, it's so great. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a wake up call, and I think, like you just said, I think it's really good, and I hinted at it earlier, was metabolizing your experiences, you know, and just like you metabolize your food, your experiences are the same way, but in a way that's setting up your psyche, your emotions, your altruistic senses, whatever it is you want to call it. I think you're absolutely right, Karen, to reflect and say, what can I do to make my situation better? And how can I be a better me? So yeah, no, that's good for you. And that will save your life. But I don't think a lot of people take that wake up call.
No, they don't. Nope. They absolutely don't. I mean, I can tell you my mother, she is, you know, I love her dearly, but she's had one crisis and wake up call after another, and somehow she just skirts right over it. And and it blows my mind, but I have to say, probably because of her doing that helped me to become who I am, to not do that. So everything has its purpose, but you're right. I couldn't agree with you more.
So do you think they hit the snooze button? Is that so they're not waking up, they'll just keep hitting the snooze button, and then those experiences passing by, and you're in the other room saying, whose alarm keeps going off? Why do they keep hitting snooze? It's waking me up.
Exactly.
And you know, for lack of a better term in that regard.
Absolutely. And for whatever reasons, and I do believe in the mysterious, that most people will not choose to wake up because it's all they know. And there's so many factors that go into that. Belief systems carried down from generation to generation. Then there's this mysterious thing that science, There's no way to truly say it's like not in the cards. That's what I had to come to grips with my parents, is I'm the one to dig deep and to figure out things and to help other people figure out their lives on a very profoundly deep, prolific level of the unconscious mind. I mean, it runs deep. And, you know, it's mysteriously, for whatever reasons, and I believe it has everything to do too with evolution. And, well, you know, I can only say it's just not in the cards, and that's okay.
Well, you know,
that's okay. It's very
well, and
mysterious.
you said something. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
sorry,
go ahead. No, please go.
I was going to say, you know, when we had that conversation the other day, we were talking about, you know, what's in your DNA. And I mean, I know science has proven Holocaust victims how that hit their DNA, and it's passed on through genes that experience, you know, and I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently, but I think there's something there.
Yes.
Because I think the science and the mystery of mystic arts, or whatever you want to call it, but that mystery is, how does that get passed on through DNA, right? That whole grief and trauma heart. And then in the spiritual realm, those curses. You know, I think Denzel Washington, I was reading something the other day. It said, your own family will talk shit about you when you're in the process of breaking all those generational curses. And it ain't for the weak, man.
No.
It isn't.
No,
you know,
it isn't.
Weak at heart, weak-minded, any of those things, you really got to get stronger. But it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You're going to suck at first at doing it, but you've got to do the repetitive stuff, like your dance routines. Yeah. You probably weren't as coordinated as you wanted to be, or be in control of your movements, but you had to rehearse and go over it again and again until it became second nature to you.
Oh, and I did. I love it. I trained Navy SEAL style. Nothing could stop me. I did. All I did was dance, like, you know, take class every single day. And I was the worst. And I had natural dance talent, but I didn't have the discipline, and I didn't know how to count. You know, I didn't know any of that stuff. And I was the worst one in the class, in the back of the room, in a sea of people. And I'm sure
you were that disruptor too, that liked to have a good time. And everyone's like, "We're serious here." You're like, "Why so serious? Let's just dance."
No, actually, I was not.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. I am one serious, like the person I am today is all trained. And me in enlightenment and understanding myself and my mind and my brain and the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind. No. I always loved humor and comedy, always as a kid, but I was quiet, never said anything. And no, I was serious. You couldn't even talk to me. And the first class, my friend invited me. I said, "I'm leaving." I was almost in tears. I'm like, I hate this.
Oh, no.
I suck. Oh, yeah. But something, just like it had you stay, you know, in the training, you know, something had me stay. That's what's mysterious. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that's what something had me stay. And then it was game on. Like, I went full throttle. And I didn't talk to anybody. I showed up every day. I just stayed to myself, blinders on, and I just kept learning. And I was the slowest one to pick up everything. But when it kicked in, I became the best one. So much, in fact, that the other students said, "Karen, start teaching class," because our teacher was habitually late 20 to 25 minutes and we'd all wait like, you know, fans. You know, like,
well, that's just rude.
Yeah, I know. And he was eccentric. We had no other choice. He was so brilliant. It's that whole Hollywood thing. You know, we had no one else there to teach us. But they pushed me up and they said, "Karen, you teach us and warm up the class." And I said, no, Mel's going to get mad. No. You know, and that's what ended up happening, because I got so good that they actually pushed me up to the front. And the best thing, this is why I love mastery. The best thing was his student, who he trained every day, private lessons. She said, "Karen, I want to hire you to teach me, because I'm tired of waiting for him." You know, every class. I said, "Okay." And she goes, "I'll pay you, $50 an hour." And I said, "Okay." And she hired me to teach her. So that's what's so incredible, is it just, I just trained and worked. And it was a personal thing to me. Like, I just wanted to be the best for myself. And it certainly paid off in every way. But I was horrible. Like, I looked like such a Dorcas, like, oh my God.
Yeah, but you took the time to do the discipline, You disciplined yourself, and it does, like a friend of mine, Jocko Willink, on his podcast, and he's been talking about it lately in the news, is about how discipline will set you free, and you took the time to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And, that goes back to the warrior mindset of, Musashi, who said, from one thing, known 10,000 things.
Mm.
So you took your one dance thing and you made 10,000 different things from it, in terms of relationships and spiritual renewal and getting out and just purging that stuff, like a splinter. You're getting all that negativity out because you're being active, you're being engaged, you're it's like a soulful buffet of what you want to put in your life, and leaving the other stuff at the salad bar, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. And I don't even know how I was able to do it, but there was something inside of me that I can't really explain, and thank God I didn't quit on myself, because I had quit on myself so many times, but that was the one time I didn't. And it's, like I said, it paid off, and it continues to pay off.
Do you think you were really intentional on that? I mean, what was your intention by being so focused on there? Was that to help others, or just to say, you know what, I'm going to take this challenge on and be able to engage, and I want to master this? Was that your intention?
Yeah, no, okay. My intention clearly was not to help others. I could care less. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm honest. I mean,
no, you didn't start off that way.
No,
sure.
I did not. I was just like, this is so humiliating. And I know I have a gift, because I had natural dance ability. And something inside me clicked, like, I need this. I gotta have it. I need this for myself and my soul and my spirit, because I consciously knew at some level I was meant to dance. That's all I can tell you. And that's what did it. And I minded my own business. I never talked to anybody. And I just kept training and training and training. And I was super hyper focused, and I watched him, and I'm very visual. I was able to watch him. He was like a buffer Michael Jackson, if you can imagine. Oh
okay.
My God.
Yeah.
And I was able to emulate him and learn by just watching, and then I'd have to practice. I could not get this. Almost everybody had it. And some of these women, this is in Laguna Beach, okay? Very wealthy area. They were like moms with kids who had nothing better to do than to take dance classes, And they were better than me. And I'm like, oh my God, how could this be, and like 3 times heavier than me. And like, I'm like, okay. And not to disrespect them, but I just kept saying, I want this for myself. That's all I focused on, is I want to do this for me. I know I have it in me. I just want to dance for me. And that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't care to perform. I didn't care to do anything. I just wanted to be so great at it. Yeah. Can you relate to that in terms of why you stuck with and didn't, you kept failing and like, but you were like, that's it. I'm the Navy SEAL, and I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. And if it kills me, what do you think it was for you?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think to me it was just the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be challenged, and this was, and I grew up without a dad. My mom and dad divorced when I was in 2nd grade, and so I didn't have a stable father figure in my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my dad. He was a cool guy. I mean, he was. Let's be clear, my dad was a jerk and could be a total asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't. He was still my dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did the best he could with what he had. But I think for me, it was a test of do you have what it takes, and the challenge that was there, because I never thought of hey, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. This is like, no, I'm going to do this run, or I'm going to do this swim. So it was literally, I had no intentions of doing anything other than passing. Right. And I didn't have to be in the top 5 or the bottom 5, which I was most of the time, with the bottom 5. But I didn't quit, and I was like, nope, I'm going to keep doing this, because it, like you said, it resonated with me, and I think it was just one of those things where you get humbled, and I think that's where that self-awareness comes from. Is you get humbled from time to time, and not in a place where it's disparaging or where it's discouraging, but it's like, hey, you know what? You missed a step, but guess what? You're going to have an opportunity to do it again, and just do it this time, but engaging in a higher level of proficiency on it. So, yeah, I think I did it just for me. It wasn't to help others, that's for sure. And right. I didn't spend time introspectively of how I was feeling. It was more introspective of what I was trying to accomplish, which was to do as many pull-ups as I can, to swim in cold water for longer periods, to help my brother with the log or get the boat over our heads and stuff like that. And so that unity of effort displayed itself in uniformity of belief and how we got things done and how we accomplished the mission. That makes sense?
Absolutely. And okay, so it just comes back to, this is why I specialize in the power of you within you, the power of the human spirit, like our soul. It was all about you, and it needs to be. It was all about me and dancing. It has to go that way. And you know what? No, you can't help somebody else. You can only help someone else to the degree in which you're truly helping yourself. So what good are we if we put others before ourselves? And you and I are actually saying the exact same thing here.
I know, and that's what I love about you, is that you and we're saying you're not speaking a different language, you're just saying it in different words, which I think is important to your listeners and anyone else out there. Is a lot of people are saying the same message. Like my wife and I will say the exact same thing, but we're looking at it from different perspectives. And I think I was sharing with you, like, we go in to do hostage rescue.
Oh, yeah.
We train. And, when you come to the threshold of a door, you have a perspective of looking through that door. Well, I don't know what's to the left or right of that threshold, so I need to take a step to the left, and we call it pieing. I'm starting to pie into the room to see what's on the other side. But I can't see it with a head-on perspective, so I have to change my look angle into the room. And, again, it's like if you take a pie and you take a slice from a pie, you just know this came from a bigger hole, a bigger piece. And, you're exactly right. We didn't do it for others. We did it ourselves. And I think I sent you something, that one thing about the traumatized child. And I put, for me, to expand on that, Marcus Aurelius said, hey, you remember, nothing belongs to you but your flesh and blood. Nothing else is under your control. And so all we can control is our actions and our interactions with others. And I think that's very important, that people understand this is a way of doing it, not necessarily the way of doing it. Because we all communicate differently. And I think I shared that with you too. If communication is key, then comprehension is the lock. And so you've got to be able to use the right key to unlock folks and get that comprehension going.
Absolutely. And so I cannot stress it enough. We're not focusing on self in a selfish way. We're focusing on self in a self-loving way and honoring self first and foremost. And then everything outside of that is so simple and quite easy. Super simple. So easy.
Totally agree. Well, it's like I was telling you earlier. Everybody wants to change the world, but they don't want to change themselves.
Bingo.
And the Michael Jackson song, start with the man in the mirror. And that's exactly right, Karen. You've got to be able to take a hard look at yourself and say, I don't like this about me. Like my wife, she knows I can be a complete jerk at times and without effort. And I said, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's intentional, and sometimes it's not. And then she sees how sweet and compassionate and understanding and thoughtful. I said, yeah, but I didn't show up this way.
Right.
I had to pluck that jackassery out of my life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I'm the same way. I'm not going to lie. Except a lot of it I just kept inside, and it came back to hurt me. And then it's like outside, so I totally can relate. Yeah. Now I'm going to say something like, if you're in my way, I could be shrewd. Totally get it.
Now, I want to go back to something you said earlier. You were real quiet in class. Were you a natural introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, I'm a natural introvert. I'd almost want to say I'm like 90% introverted. Most people would never know that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it till you said it. When you said no, I kept to myself in class and I focused. And I was like, because your outward personification is that of a extrovert and engaging and loving life, and it doesn't seem forced or rehearsed. It just seems like, hey, you know what? I know what I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin, but I want to be able to engage others so that they can engage life and be a better human while they're, however long or short their time is on the planet.
Yes, and it's all trained, and so I can be out in the limelight, but only for so long.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know, and it seems like people. The truth is, this is me. It's authentic, but only for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, you know your limits, and that's good.
I do.
That's fantastic. And it's funny. I was just telling a guy the other day about that. I said, look, being a Navy SEAL, that's easy. That it truly is easy. You can train your body to get used to the cold water. You can run 7-minute miles for 6 miles. You can do an ungodly amount of pull-ups, both weighted and unweighted. But here's the deal: getting it is easy. It's keeping it. That pressure that's put on you to earn your trident every day is enormous. Because you don't want to let yourself, you don't want to let your brothers and sisters to your left and right down. So you shoulder that responsibility and that burden because you don't want to be a liability. You want to be an asset to the teams, you know?
Exactly.
And it takes that constant work and that constant grind, and being under that kind of pressure can be undaunting. And you know enough to take yourself offline. It's okay, I got enough limelight. I need to go back and recharge, the Karen Lovely battery.
Yes.
And so that you'll be useful not only to yourself but to others. But I love how you said that. It's not a self-love that's narcissistic. It's a self-love to prune those things out and to get those things that aren't producing positive effects out of your life. I love that. That's really well said.
Oh, thank you. So now let's go back to this quote. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. So what is it about this quote and that line specifically that you relate to, that really, drew you in?
I mean, I don't want to sound like a wackadoodle when I say this, but there's so many things that we don't know about everything. I mean, even science sometimes is faith-based science.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we think it's this way. Well, they can prove up to a point that this is the chemical reaction, or the inertia causes this, or whatever, you want to put in there, fill in the blank. But I think for me, it resonated with me because life is mysterious. I have a goal of where I want to be and how I want to engage, but opportunities will present themselves that make me curious. And I think, going back to what you said earlier, is you're a learner. You learn the steps, and you're a visual learner. I think most people are learners. They just don't realize that they're lifelong learners. And it's not like learning algebra or calculus or trigonometry, which is hard enough, but they're not taking time to learn themselves.
Right.
And challenge themselves. So for me, I think it was just the mysterious is beautiful. Like Einstein stated, it's like, wow, that's really cool. Like just sitting here right now, I'm sitting in my office looking out the window. I've had every bird come by here. I've had a hummingbird just sit here and hover right in front of the window. He can't see me, but I can see him. 2 blue jays, 2 red birds. And it's just mysterious that they're all just showing up while I'm talking to you, because normally they don't do it on this side of the house. They do it on the other side of the house. So I think whatever vibration you and I are creating, birds are drawn to it or whatever. I know it sounds, again, wackadoodle.
No, it doesn't.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll just stop there.
No. Okay, I'm going to elaborate there then. Okay? Because when you said the DNA thing, immediately it was like everything's energy. And yes, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and the radio frequency. And this is so amazing, and it's so, like, it will scramble your brain a little bit. But if you think of the cell phone, so the brain is a cell phone, and another brain is a cell phone. So brains pick up the vibration of other brains, but how? It goes out into the ether. And it's energy. And the frequency, so the cell phone, right? We talk into one cell phone across the world. Okay? And then what happens is the cell phone is the instrument that takes that frequency and scrambles it millions of times into a silent frequency that goes across the world into the next person's cell phone. It descrambles it, and then it comes out as a voice. And that's the same as the brain. And so it's those silent frequencies that are scrambled so many times that I believe affect the DNA. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I got chills. That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right. I think, we briefly talked about that the other day too, about energy can't be created or destroyed. It can be channeled and redirected.
Yes.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that, because I think the energy that what's that saying, the vibe attracts your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're absolutely right, those vibrations. And I think it's just a matter of paying attention to them. And, like that old saying, you walk in a room, you cut the tension with a knife. I think that's a vibration that people pick up on, but they don't know how to interpret it.
Exactly.
That, hey, that's a negative vibration, or there's tension here, and it's palpable. And then conversely, the same as too, where there's joy and laughter and engagement. Who doesn't want to be intoxicated with that?
Exactly. And so if we think about, for me, the mysterious, is there's certain things I just can't explain based on, for instance, the law of attraction, but I call it the principles of magnetization, the magnetic force. And, yes. And I have done this my whole life, but I got to tell you, from this perspective, in 3D, so I have set in my mind my one Arabian horse. But I remember, my Arabian horse, I put up this picture of the perfect dimensions of an Arabian horse, white. So stunning. And I put it up on my dream board. And I kid you not, I forgot it was even on the board, because I had moved to my ranch and I packed it all away. And then one day, out of nowhere, a woman says, "Oh, I want to buy your jumps." The jumps that I had in the storage when I bought the ranch, and I didn't need all these jumps. And she said, "Okay."
What's a jump? Is that what they jump over?
Yeah, the horses jump over the jumps, yeah. And it was the posts and everything. And so somebody led me to her. Oh, the neighbor said, "Call this woman. She's looking for jumps." I said, "Great," I did. She comes over, said, "Okay, I'll take 20 of them." I said, "Okay, great." She pays me the cash. And then I said, "Oh, I always wanted an Arabian." She goes, I know a guy giving one away or selling him, trying to find a new home for this Arabian. She's too small for me. So this one was very tall. She's like 5'11", 5'10". And I said, "Oh, okay." I call him up. He says, "Yeah, come look at her." I drive all the way down to Palos Verdes to look at this horse. He takes her out, runs her around the pen. And I said, "I'll take her." He said, "Okay, done." I paid $1 for her because he had to do the ownership agreement. He hauls her up. I'm not even living on my ranch at that time. He hauls her up and drops her off at the ranch. My ranch hand puts him in the pasture, and I'm not living there. I'm living on the west side of LA, and I drive up, and I come, and there she is, and she's almost identical to the picture that I had on the dream board.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
What's your point of all that? Is making that manifestation or that vibration?
Yeah, but it's mysterious. How could that even happen? The neighbor and the jumps. Then she tells me about the horse. I go down. He's getting married, so he needs to get rid of this registered pedigree, high pedigree, papered horse.
Yeah.
Right? And how is that even possible? And then I realized, oh my God, she's the picture on my dream board. How's that possible?
Cool.
How is that possible? I don't get it. I mean, how can you explain that?
I can't. It's mysterious. You're absolutely right.
And I have her to this day. She's stunning. I just posted her on my Instagram. That's her.
And what's her name?
Her name is Abounding Beauty.
That's cool.
Uh-huh. No.
Did you have that name before?
No, that's her registered name that she came with, and then he told me her...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw that on your page. She was running back and forth.
Yes, that's her.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yes. And now she's 24 4 years old now.
Well, she's rather spry for.
Oh, okay. Bingo. And I've got to tell you this. Not only that, she's stunning. She's the best. She's fiery. She's an intermediate horse. You can't just throw anybody on her because she'll run like the wind. And she and I have the same personality, and she's my favorite, best riding horse that I have. I have 5 horses, and right now she has been my most favorite horse ever. Like, riding her, she's smooth as can be. She's gorgeous. Her legs are strong. Her ankles are strong. Where my other Arabians it was not the case. She's so amazing. My whole point is, I got it for free. I could have turned around at that time and, and he said I paid $1, but I never gave him $1. She was $0, big fat goose egg dollars. Okay. I could have turned around and probably sold her at the time for like 8-10 grand. No joke.
Yeah, but it was more to you than that.
Of course. But what I'm saying is, look, I can tell you so many things. You'd be like, Karen, I don't even believe you at this point. You are a wackadoodle. I say, yeah, I am. Okay? And you know what? This wackadoodle's got to go because I got to now go groom and give my shower to my black stallion, who I didn't even need a picture of that I have. Oh, and then I got to go zoom around my classic 560 SL because I need to drive that around because I mostly drive my truck. So I got to go. Okay? Call me a wackadoodle. See ya. And that was another dream come true.
But you know what? I think it starts with a interest or something that catches your eye and you enjoy that. Let's just call it art, right? Because horses are a work of art.
Yes.
As are people.
Uh-huh.
I think. So you had that initial attraction of like, wow, that's gorgeous or that's beautiful, and then your imagination takes off. And I don't want to sound like a mystic or whatever, because I'm not. But it's one of those things where it's like you manifested that which caught your attention, and you said, you know what, someday I'm going to have that. And then as things line up and the wheels get in motion, those opportunities show up, and bam, you've got this beautiful white horse.
Right. Well, look, I am a mystic. I'm a spiritual intuitive. I'll own it, and my clients know this about me. I don't put it up too much, because I do feel understanding our own human brain and how it works against us most of the time is more important. But I will tell you, you keep discounting it, but I wouldn't discount it, because this quote, the mysterious, is the point, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm not discounting it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's how I'm coming off. I like to explore all different perspectives of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
no, I mean,
absolutely.
I wouldn't have shared it with you if I didn't believe in the mysterious as well. I mean, case in point, I was going through, I keep these journals.
Mm-hmm.
They're like just logs that I write down, and then at the beginning of every one, I write down, here's what I want for this year, or here's my intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back, and then at the end of the year, I capture all of the little quotes that I've done, and it's funny. I put all the quotes together, and there's a common theme throughout.
Yep.
They all connect to each other without even me knowing about it. But I think it goes back to your earlier point about the subconscious picking up that vibration and says, hey, this is the way you need to go. And then writing it down helps manifest it and then materialize it to where you want to be. Like 2017, I said, I want a house in Texas that I can have a garden and have a cement pond, right? And what do I have in 2020? A house in Texas with a garden and a cement pond.
Bingo.
So that was 3 years ago, before I even knew this house existed. So, no, I get it. It's not lost on me. I just think it's cool how when you take the time to say, that's beautiful, and you appreciate it, those things come into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to work for those. They just naturally present themselves saying, hey, this is what your heart longs for. This is what your beauty and your wellspring is about, and it shows itself in those particular manners. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And because you keep saying, well, I'm not a mystic, but you know what? You kind of are.
Well, what I mean, I believe in mystic. I mean, when people say they're spiritual, I kind of take a step back. Well, demons are spirits too, so I'm more on the side of the not demon side. So I say that tongue in cheek with you. but I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently because of the mysterious about it. Because I'm spiritual as well, but I lean towards, Jesus and God, and when people say the universe, I'll add, the creator of the universe, and it's not to be argumentative, but just to give my perspective on it, and It's not to be insulting or to, confront someone who's insulary reactive in terms of like, well, that doesn't fit with me. I go, that's great. Let me go back to, step one was the freedom and the right to express your opinion, whether I agree with it or not. That's a beautiful and mysterious thing, is the freedom and the right to express your opinion.
Yes.
I don't have to agree with it. And I don't even have to understand it. But the fact that you get that opportunity to do it is beautiful,
Yes.
And so, so I say when it's a mystic, I am a dilettante. I do not know enough about it. I just kind of dilly-dally with it, and it just kind of shows up. So I'm almost like childlike approach towards that.
Beautiful.
I have no sophistication in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know this about Steve Jobs, that he dilly-dallied and dabbled in Eastern mysticism.
I didn't know that.
I know. Most people don't know that. And so that's why I just love this topic. And I just want to say, I love what you just said, and the humility of course, of you don't know enough. And yet, I give you more credit that you actually know more than you think you do. But that's just my opinion.
You just made my heart smile. It literally just meant.
Yeah.
But it goes back to something you said earlier, though, I think, Karen, is you just simplify it.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got this picture, and it's there. I don't have to write, and the horse will have this, and the horse will... You had an image, you had an idea, and it was simple. And I think that's the problem, is people, they get to that fatigue of decision-making, and they get cognitive overload, where they overthink the thing. Just be simple in intent and simple in delivery. And you had a simple picture that meant a lot to you, that showed up in a physical manifestation of everything. Like you said, you have the same personality, you have the same fiery spirit, but yet you're still sensitive, compassionate, and engaging. And you only want to harvest joy and things that bring harmony. You don't want acrimonious behavior from stuff, and you get rid of it,
Yes. And again, I'll tell you something. I wasn't naturally like this. I didn't know this about myself. I had to really uncover this part and understand what it is actually to have deep compassion. Number one, for myself. That's what did it. When I was able to have compassion for myself unconditionally, and accept myself unconditionally for the good, the bad, the ugly, it was then that I was able to project that outward and have such profound compassion for humanity. And it wasn't that way at all. It was like, I hate myself and I hate y'all. I think you're all stupid. And because of my parents.
Yeah, self-loathing. Yep.
Yes. And, this mysteriousness runs deep with me. I was a child who kind of said mysterious things. I remember driving with my mom at 17, and I was about to leave for college, and I knew how tumultuous my parents' marriage was. And I never said much, but we're driving, and I look at her, it's just her and I look over, I said, divorce dad and go get your real estate license. And then,
how old were you?
17. And then
wow.
I just looked straight ahead. So I look at her, she's driving, I say it, I look straight ahead, never say a word. And that's it, I'm gone. I moved to California and I never come back. I come back to visit and, Christmas and those kind of things, but that was it. And sure enough, decades later, they get divorced and she's scrambling for money. Yet somehow, because I knew she had it in her to be successful, because my parents made a lot of money in real estate.
So would you say that is clairvoyance, or would you say that's just, how would you clarify that? Or how
I'm a clairsentient, I'm an empath. My mother even, but I have very keen intuition, whatever you want to call it, telepathy, Think and Grow Rich, telepathic. I am very clairvoyant, clairsentient. However,
I love that. That's cool.
yeah, and I would describe it as that, but look, under the topic, that's somewhat mysterious.
Yo, absolutely. Well, I think I shared with you my son, man. I just,
oh yes,
I was 18 years in the military, and I get custody of my son. He's 2.5, and we're in North Carolina, and I picked him up from daycare, and we went shopping, and I threw things in the back. I put him in his car seat, and he's like 3, I guess, maybe 4. And he looks at me and goes, "Dad, eggs will break if you don't move them." And I'm like, how does he can't see what I did in the back of the trunk? Mm-hmm. And get home, and sure enough, something had fallen on the eggs and broken them. Now, how did he know that?
Bingo.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is where The Sixth Sense, the movie The Sixth Sense, which I believe I definitely have a sixth sense. But again, where it's very mysterious. Exactly. And he's only 2.5, 3, so you put him in the car seat, obviously. There's no way he could see in the back, and you put the groceries, right? And that's what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. How does he know that? How does he know?
Yeah. And he's done that his whole life. He'll just, exactly what you said when you were 17, he'll stop and say, "Dad, do you know who you are?" I mean, I'll never forget, he was 13 years old, and I was like, "I think that I do." He's 19 now.
Oh my God.
He'll be, and it's just, he'll be 19 next month. But I mean, he just says these things that catch him. My wife's the same way. She'll just say something. I go, "Where'd that come from?" She goes, "I don't know. I'm just supposed to tell you that right now."
See?
So I think it's those inner workings, when we pay attention to them, they mean more things. Like the other day, we saw this homeless gal, and she was holding up a sign. I didn't even read her sign, but we drove by her in the opposite direction, and we were going to get some food. It was me, my wife, and my nephew. And we pull in the drive-thru, and I get an extra order, but I ordered 2 of whatever it is. And when we go back, we're going back the other way. I knew I was going to pass by that girl, and I give it to her, and she goes across, and she gets like, "Thank you very much." So I give her the drinks, and I give her the food, and she walks across the way. There was her boyfriend or her partner, and it was 2 of everything. My wife goes, "How did you know to get 2?" I go, "The little voice inside me said, you're going to need 2 of these."
There it is.
I don't give them money. I give them food or water if it's a hot day. It's like, "Hey, I'm going to give you what you need for right now."
Okay, there it is. There's the mysterious. Science can't explain it. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, Steve. Like, seriously, how did you know to get 2?
Just the little voice said, "You're going to need 2." I was like, "Okay, little voice, I'll do it."
Okay, that's mysticism. That's being a mystic.
Is it really?
Yes. As far as from my interpretation and from my point of view, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? And I guess because like for me, I call it the Holy Spirit, which is mystical as well.
Yes, it is.
I was prompted by the Holy Spirit to say, "Hey, you need to engage." And I've done that before. And my wife just looks at me, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm supposed to go here and give this to this person. I've never met this person before." And there's tons of stories that are replete with that.
Exactly.
Billy Graham had the book Angels. Ravi Zacharias had some other books dealing with the exact same thing. I think it's just people tying into that and knowing that it's a good thing and not using the powers for good and not for causing harm to others.
Yes, absolutely. But when we talk about, look, the whole notion of God, a God, is so mysterious, yet has so much power. I mean, it's really, we don't have to, it just depends on the associations tied to it, but it's a form, even religion, it's a form of mysticism from my point of view. It really is.
But, I think we're both saying, again, we're saying the same thing. You're saying mystic, I'm saying spiritual. I think you've always been really good at defining your terms up front. So there's good clarification and edification of the point. And I have to agree with you. I think most spiritual growth doesn't happen when you're sitting on a yoga mat. It happens in the midst of a conflict, or when you're frustrated or angry or scared, and you're doing the same old bullshit or the same old thing. Right. And then suddenly you realize, hey, I got a choice. I don't have to be doing this. But, and it goes back to the subconscious, to being prompted by the spirit, or being prompted by what's going on. And that's why, I tell you, I said, hey, spiritualism goes both ways. There's a good and a bad. I want to be focusing on the good, because I have my own demons that I've got to say, nope, we're not today, demon. We're not doing that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the whole, that's Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill Foundation. There is this, not the devil as we know the devil, in the red suit with the little pokey tail and the pitchfork. It's that self-sabotaging part of ourselves. That part in our mind that takes us down. So, it's a broad topic. So whatever we want to call it, we'll just call it very mysterious. Yes?
Yes, the mysterious.
The mysterious. And it's very mysterious that you heard a voice. People can say, okay, you're a little wacky. Okay, Looney Tune. But you heard a voice. Call it a premonition. Call it your grandmother's voice. It doesn't matter, but it just fascinates me that you'd get two. Even your wife saying, well, why'd you get two? Because it would make sense that you'd get one because you saw her, but you never saw him, did you?
No, I didn't.
See?
And they had a little puppy, too, so they got to feed the puppy as well.
Oh, my God. And they had it all.
And then when I read her sign, she's like, hey, I'm paying to feed a puppy. Her sign said, hey, I need help, stuck in between whatever, and I'm, helping to feed a puppy. But the puppy wasn't with her. The puppy was with the guy who was on the other side of the street, panhandling there. But, I want to go back to something you said earlier when we talked the other day was how do you intuitively know something when you're a kid and you have no book knowledge or learned knowledge of it, And remember that conversation?
Yes, I do. So you're asking me how do you know? See, I don't know. All I can tell you, because I knew at 6 years old, at some level, my dad was unfaithful. He's cheating. And he confirmed it because I confronted him, years later. He said, yeah. And we had proof. He had a mistress in New York, and he was, paying for her apartment. He's like, hello, but how did I know at 6? I don't know. Sixth sense, intuition, psychic ability? I don't know. Past lives. I believe in past lives. Is it somebody, maybe it's, I was able to get this gift. Again, mysterious. I can't really answer the question. I just know things without really knowing how I know. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I know we touched on it, is vibrations and that energy. So maybe the energy from that relationship that your dad had was on him, and you picked up on that energy. And you saw it for what it was, and not the subdiffusion that he created on that.
Yeah. However, whatever. I don't even care about labels. I don't really care. I just have to say, I got whatever you want to call it, power, mojo. You can call it goobly gloop. You can call it, poopy emoji. I don't care. Just, right, is that I have something that I can't quite explain, but if you want to put a label on it to help you understand it, then I put a label on it. I say, well, I call myself a clairsentient, spiritual intuitive. I have a sixth sense, telepathic. Some people, my mother called me psychic. She goes, I knew you were psychic when you were a child. I'm like, hello, why didn't you ever tell me this? I just knew there were things different. But, I don't care about labels. Is that I can only tell, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying that directly to you, I can only say somehow I know things that I don't know. And even if you read Edward M. Halloway's book, Driven by Distraction, and it's for people. Yes.
I got to look that one up. Yeah, you had mentioned that. I got to look that up. I think that's hysterical.
Well, for people with ADD, which I have. I have a low-grade selective ADD. And if you read the book, he says the great things, because I'm like, oh, no, I'm cursed. You read the book, he's like, no, this is why you want to love your ADD, is because you have a sixth sense. You know things without knowing how you know things. I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it. But
no, it's a gift.
Yeah,
and I think the point of emphasis for me, takeaway, is you're paying attention. and you don't know why you know it. You just know you know it, and you're not hung up on, well, how do I know these? And you're not trying to tap into it. It just shows itself when it shows itself, which I think is cool. And I think you're right. And I get it, not to be hung up on labels, but it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, what does his name say? That guy, Tyrion Lannister, I drink and I know things, from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I think there's some truth to that.
There
I think
is.
a lot of people are that way,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know why they say or do what they do. It just kind of happens,
Yes. Now, I want to tell you something. Here's the best part in terms of, people asking, can I have that? Can I tap into that? I think I have something. Absolutely. The answer is yes. Now, I had this power, but I wasn't using it so much for good. I was using it against myself, not for myself. So I proactively trained and invested high dollars to understand what it is to use whatever you want to call this, a gift, power, whatever you want to call it, gloobity gloop, so that I can use this power for good and use it for myself, not against myself, and for others, not against others. Because the saying goes, watch out for what you wish for. That has everything to do with the unconscious mind. So when people say consciously, I want this, I want to achieve this, the unconscious mind is saying, no, you don't deserve it. Remember what happened when you were 6 years old. Remember what happened when you were 2 years old. Remember what happened when you were 8 years old. You need to fear it, not embrace it. And that's all unconscious. And the two are misaligned, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So if I'm hearing you right, one's a learned trait, and the other is just kind of a underconfidence, and which creates over anxiety. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. So let me see what to clarify, or maybe keep it simple, is when we say consciously we want to achieve something or have something or do something, that's all well and good, but whatever's happening from a subconscious and predominantly unconscious standpoint has everything to do with fear, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
I have to learn that.
I agree with that.
That's the part we have to learn. Yes.
Yep, and I think, what I was trying to say is underconfidence creates over-anxiety.
Yes,
and,
yes, absolutely true. Boom.
Yeah, so if you're not confident, you're going to be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and how do you get confident? By engaging and saying, okay, I made a mistake here. Here's how I can improve my position and my issue or whatever it is. When people say I have issues, and if they're negative issues, I'd say, well, maybe you might want to consider canceling your subscription to those issues. Because it's just that simple. It really is.
That's
I think you and I talked the other day.
Yeah.
All my counselors that have helped me get to be a better version of me have all been women. And the reason it's helped is I think the energy that women bring, since they can bring life into this world, it's a natural part of their DNA to be nurturing,
yes,
to be understanding, to be helpful, and sometimes to a fault where the person, they stunt the growth of whether it's a male or female that they're engaging, that stunts that growth because that person becomes reliant on them for everything, as opposed to just saying, hey, teach a man to fish, and he fishes for life, as opposed to giving him a fish. I think it's the same thing with counselors, and the reason I say female counselors, they bring a different energy to the table.
Yes.
And they bring a different aura, if you will, that helps heal and nurture and guide. And that's I think before we started this, I was telling you I don't lead with, hey, I'm a former Navy SEAL, because people already have an instant perception of who I am and how I'm going to be. This mercenary sensibility and lead pipe cruelty type stuff, and it's like. And me, I'm nothing like that. Do I have the capacity to do that? Absolutely. But I don't need to go there because the situation doesn't warrant that. To be clear, I'm not that guy frolicking with the butterflies and the cupcakes and the puppies all the time. I mean, I do that,
Yeah.
but there's a time and a place for that. And I guess my whole point is to bring that thought to, thanks for sticking with me on this cognitive roller coaster.
No, take your
but
time.
It's just the fact that female energy is so good
Mm-hmm.
when it allows men to be men. And
Yes.
there's a harmony there that needs to be engaged and brought out. It's when they're diametrically opposed to each other and they have these preconceived ideas that it becomes hard to communicate
Mm-hmm.
and comprehend, and it just builds these walls that I don't think need to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Or is that a podcast for another time?
Oh, it totally is, because all of a sudden all these things, like, don't even get me started. The masculine, feminine energy, men in general, women in general. I couldn't agree with you more, which completely, thank you, Steve, it completely supports why my private practice has evolved into training predominantly men. And because there is this part of, men in general go for high IQ, women in general are high EQ.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
we need a balance of both. Every human on the planet needs a balance of both. I firmly believe this. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
And you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to say, the problem with pride is it believes its own lie.
Yes. Yes.
And so people get prideful and stuff. And you had mentioned it earlier about, and my wife and I were just talking about the ego is a good thing when ego is used to make yourself better as a person.
Yes.
To make your body better, your mind better. Those are good ego involvements because people, your ego's in the way. Well, when it's the ego becomes self-righteous and indignant, that it starts to create harm and ineffective in building positive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think to your point, and thank you for doing what you're doing, because men need a place to go and talk and vent without being, to toxic masculinity or male dominance. Or it's like, hey man, we all have our role to play. It's a matter of channeling those energies in a way that's going to be beneficial to what's going on, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, without question. I mean, it's again, so simple. Is if we have the ability to relate to male and female, how much more power and multidimensionality will we have? Especially in the realm of relationship. Because now we're back to fundamental child, mommy, daddy. Child, daddy, mommy. That's what this is really about. Is understanding and relating to each other, from the female-male standpoint. And it would only enhances our relationship to self, relationship to and with everyone and everything. It's like a no-brainer. It's so super simple in theory, extremely difficult
in application.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to what you said earlier. It's just about the pride, the ego, the labels that we put on them. And labels aren't necessarily a bad thing. They just kind of help you identify, because you have to define your terms. What does that term mean to me, and how do I metabolize that? I think that's my new shtick right now. Is you have food calories. I think people need to have people calories, news calories, calories across your life in terms of what's good for you and what's not good for you. Your recommended daily allowance of whatever. Because when they overindulge in certain things, it becomes counterproductive. In my opinion, I think with the whole mystery of what men bring to the table and the mystery that women bring to the table, there's a lot of common ground because we're both human. We just have different outlooks on different topips. I know I'm kind of just prattling on right now.
No. And we're about to wrap things up. Because we can go on and on and on, but I've predominantly worked with women in my private practice when I first started 9.5 years ago, and it's evolved. But is it evolved? Yes, but it's so simple. No human left behind. I'm not going to just train just women. I'm not going to train just men. But it just seems like this is a perfect opportunity and everything's based on experience and case study, but how powerful for all of us, me as the coach, me as a human, but with my clients, it just makes me so happy to know that, we're all open to, sorry, I hear some feedback. We're all open to relating to each other as humans, not as, transgender. That's my, male, female, gay, straight is human to human. That's the bottom line for me. Human to human. Yep. If you have a human brain, you qualify. Right? And
no, you're absolutely right. Because there's certain tendencies that we all have in the human race, and it's just a matter of hey man, just be well, be kind, and be complete. The be complete part is a work in progress. It's because we're never going to be fully complete, but we can strive for it. And I think engaging in positive attributes and listening to others and pruning out that negativity and that tomfoolery and jackassery out of our lives, it helps us to help others.
Absolutely. And helping others is not even that difficult. It's almost second nature when we help ourselves first. That's what I truly believe. The more we unconditionally love ourselves for all that we are and all that we are so not, and the more we have that within ourselves, we then automatically, this is Psych 101, we automatically project that outward, which has us be more empathetic, more compassionate, and help the next human.
Oh my God, you just said something. Okay, I got to share this with you. I know we're running short of time.
No, we have time. But keep going. But you know what I'm saying? There's no time limit here. Yeah.
I get this all the time, right? I told my wife when we got married, and she's been putting up with this for 15 years, is I said, stand by, every bum on the planet gravitates towards me. and she's like, no, I don't believe it. And I mean, we can be in the middle of nowhere in a parking lot, and a bum will magically appear and say, hey man, you got any spare change? God. No, but I got a bag of peanuts, or I got this thing of potato chips, or here's some beef jerky. And that's, my wife knows that I always have something in the car to give someone.
Beautiful.
But now let's contrast that with some people say, well, you're unapproachable. I can't talk to you. You've just got this tough guy image about you. And I'm like, I'm 5'5" on a good day, and I'm not that intimidating of a presence, but it's just interesting. And I don't know what it is, but if I'm so intimidating and I'm, this masculine, whatever you want to call it, dominance or toxicity or whatever to some people, why is every bum on the planet attracted me like a moth to a flame? What is it about my vibration or the way I carry myself that will attract someone who doesn't even know me and feel the need to engage me? And then conversely, you have others that just instantly pass judgment on me or see me walking a certain way, because I kind of walk like Pepe Le Pew, and so I think I just, you know what I mean? I think just it's an interesting compare and contrast. I ask my wife that all the time. She's like, you know what? I don't know, Steve. I don't know what that is.
Oh, here it is.
Because,
go ahead.
No, help me out.
Okay, it's because of their perceptive filters, their perception, their association to even the words, and the words in their own mind, the voices in their own head, and everything they've learned or imagined early on in childhood up until that point is they're actually not talking to you about you. They're talking either about themselves or the fear of not being that.
Wow. That is powerful. That's wonderful. Thank you. You know what? You're absolutely right. And I've said it in a roundabout way, because I always say consider the source. And if the source is not one that you're willing to be associated with or doesn't carry weight with you, then just dismiss it. But you said that so eloquently and so simply. It's like, it's the filter and their aperture that they're looking through that makes it that tenuous situation.
Right. And as you say that, it's so interesting, because when I met you, you're so complete opposite from my view.
Oh, that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely, because I mean, that's why we're here. And I got to tell you, as an introvert, I'm very an empath. I'm very um, particular about the energy fields that I'm in at this level and this point in my life. Not that I'm any better, but I know energy. And so it does matter. But I what I'm saying is, and I said it in the beginning of the podcast, is you're human to human. You're relatable. You're humble. I don't see anything when people say that about you. That's how I know, because I have trained myself to have zero perceptive filters, ideally. Does that happen?
That's beautiful. God, that's not an easy thing either.
No.
We have so many ingrained biases,
Yes.
so many ingrained prejudices that we
Yes.
don't, both conscious and unconscious. No, that's well done, man. If you can put that lightning in a bottle and sell it wholesale, we'd be a better human race. Because you say that human thing. It's funny that you said that. My wife just finished the consensus, the Census Bureau thing.
Yes.
And she put on there for me, what race are you? She goes, human. And I
so
love that. I
smart.
go, yeah, that's the dialogue that we all need to start having.
Yes.
Black, white, brown, Chinese, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all the human race,
Absolutely. And
that's not to take away from culture
Of course.
and tradition. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Right.
saying, hey, man, we have more alike than we do not alike.
Well, it levels the playing field, human to human, and it unifies us. It humbles us and gives us all access to great power. So,
You know what?
yeah.
I just can't thank you enough. I mean, it's like my heart had this crust around it, like this rust, and you saying what you're saying really just kind of broke away some of that rust or that whatever, the saltiness on my heart or my feelings. I can literally feel it between my navel and my heart, like in my gut area, is relieved for you saying that. And I don't say that metaphorically. I say it, my visceral self needed to hear that, because it's very freeing.
Yes. So the game is, and the strategy is, get rid of these perceptive filters. Again, predominantly unconscious. The more you get rid of all these perceptive filters, you're a blank slate. There's so much room for freedom. And it just frees us up, and it takes away that feeling of heaviness and feeling encumbered by the circumstances in life, the negative energy. That's why I teach it, is because the more unconditionally self-accepting we can be, the more we can be accepting of others for, again, all that they are and all they are not. For the good, the bad, the ugly. And it just takes away and dissolves so much dissension and negative collective consciousness, negative fear and energy that's silent. It is so silent at the highest level of frequency. And that's what's happening right now in the world with the whole COVID pandemic. Is there's an very silent, extreme fear being sent out.
Yeah, and I think we're in a mentally and emotionally fragile state, because we've dehumanized everything, because we've lost that human touch, human interaction, human involvement, and getting aggravated with someone who drives like a complete jerk.
Right.
When really it's your expectations, not their driving. Like my wife, I love her to death. But when someone drives like a jerk or cuts her off or does something that's stupid, I go, you just need to leave the house knowing that that's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Don't pay it any mind. She's like, why did that guy do that? I go, well, maybe they had to go to the bathroom. Maybe they have diarrhea. I just try to make light of the situation. She just looks at me and she giggles. She's like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Absolutely.
But you're right. I mean, that's palpable fear with the pandemic and everything else that's going on. But, there's also, what's good about it is if you're feeling that, you still have feelings. I think the scary part is when there's the numbness and there's no more feeling left. I think the narrative needs to be put to where, hey, yes, you're fearful, but that comes from a place of wherever your fear comes from, whether it's, insulary, reactionary responses, if it's a traumatized events from your experiences. Because let's face it, experiences can be good or bad.
Right.
There's, because people say, well, in my experience, this is how it is. right now we're all experiencing the same thing, but with different filters and different lenses, like you're saying.
Exactly.
And how do we say, okay, we're going to weather the storm. I'm tethered to this. Allow the line to feed out to where I can get some slack in the line and take a breath and just be palpable. But I can't thank you enough. Again, every time I talk to you, I make progress in my own life with clarity of thought and engagement of others and how to proceed. So I thank you for that.
Wow. You're so welcome. And I feel exactly the same way. And it's a mutual exchange of wisdom and energy and enlightenment in different ways.
Well, you honor me with that word, enlightenment. I've been trying to be enlightened my whole life.
Yeah, but you already are. I know. You got to give yourself more credit. You totally, and you are proactive about it. You're absolutely proactive. So, I would say start claiming some of it and owning it little by little. And that's, again, that's how I see it and perceive it, is that you are extremely enlightened. So maybe it's the question would then be, why won't you give yourself credit for it?
I guess it's the fear, like my wife and I were just talking about that the other day. It's the fear of growing arrogant. And
exactly.
And so I want to keep myself in check, and not so much with self-deprecating statements, because that's not good either, but just saying, okay, I'll take this and I'll move on, and I try to keep that. I want to be grounded, is what I'm saying, because there's times where I'm not, and where I completely miss the mark. I'm not stupid. I'm just slow.
Oh my God, that's my saying. That's so weird. That's what oh my God, I thought I coined that because I tell my mother. But anyway, no, there it is. Yeah. Oh my God, that's great. Go ahead.
And it's just that. I'm just slow on the uptake because I have such a hard line of filters. It's like, no, that's not what they're saying at all. You're missing the point. And I think what you're allowing me and others that you are involved with, and you just showed it to myself, was just be yourself. And it's okay not to like yourself, but just don't stay there. Do something about it, but you got to put the work in, and you've got to put the time in.
Absolutely. And the more we understand our operating system and the hardware and the software within ourselves, that's what I feel does it, because it did it for me, and it has miraculous results for me and my clients and the people I just talked to. Like you're saying, wow, so, to say some of the rust or the crust from my heart is disappearing or going away is huge. Because we want that heart.
That's exactly what it was, Karen. I mean, it's the only way I could describe it. Is it was very visceral, and what you said was, it freed me. It was like this jolt of okay, I can let that go. It's like when you drop a hot potato, or you drop something that burns you. Yes. Like if you touch a skillet and it's hot and you retract. That's exactly what you just did to me. It allowed me to flush it and get it out. I was like, oh, she's right. And I knew that, but I didn't know it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I needed an affirmation, and you gave that to me, so I appreciate it.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you. That makes my day, because that's why I do this. Like, this is why I've been training so hard and making massive sacrifices for myself. But if I can pass along to the next person, well, it's just, I get a twofer. 2 for 1, and that's what this is about.
It makes you feel good and know that you help someone. Because you help me. Every time I talk to you, I literally, it takes me like a week to kind of metabolize what you're telling me. I'm like, oh, that's what she meant. But the beauty of it is, what I love about you and I is, if we don't talk for months or maybe even a year or two, we're right back where we were. There's no, why didn't you call me? Or, there's no hurt feeling. It's like, hey, we're living our lives. Where are you at right now? Got it. All right, let's move from here. You know what I mean? It's like when we do map and compass training, and that's when hey, where am I in relevance? So to find your position on a map, you have to do what they call back azimuth or a resection, right? So you take a prominent point, like there's that mountain peak, and you take another prominent point. Here's the river, and where am I in relation to that? Right? Yeah. And then you draw a line from each and says, hey, you are here on the map. But I want to go back to something you said earlier, and that just triggered it, is magnetic versus true. And so on compasses, and this is something I talk about with some of my clients is you have a true bearing, and then you have a magnetic bearing, right?
Yes.
So when you look at maps and you calibrate your compass, you have to dial in an azimuth or declination. What's the declination? Because where you are on the planet determines what your declination is. So, like, what that means is you have to adjust your magnetic compass for where you are in relation to the poles, north and south. So if you're in a certain part of the country, a certain part of the planet, you have to dial it 7 up or 7 down or 5 up or 5 down. Does that make sense?
Yes, this is genius. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, so I think, it's mysterious that it works because it's you can't see the magnetism, but it's there. And your compass knows it's there, but you have to dial in that compass in order to get the right bearing to whatever your objective is. And I think a lot of times what happens with us, we don't follow our true bearing. We follow that magnetic bearing.
Bingo.
Without putting in the right declination of where we are in relation to the topic in our lives and in people in our lives in our current situations.
Okay,
does that make sense?
That was so genius. That's exactly case and point, is that we're not following our trueness. We're following the unconscious fear-based magnetic force most of the time. Yes.
And even your magnetic compass needs help to say, okay, I need to dial in this declination because that's not a true north, or that's not magnetic north.
Exactly right.
So you have to take time and do a resection or do a back azimuth, depending upon who's teaching the map and compass class. But I think that's important for people to understand is you've got to dial in your compass, the difference between true and magnetic, and then where you are in relation to that. You are here on life's map,
Okay, that's it in a nutshell. That is so Navy SEAL style. Woo! That's what I'm talking about.
You help me get to these things.
What?
You help draw that out. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, it's so genius. That's exactly right. And and that's my whole point is if you can do it with the map and compass where you are physically on a little blue-green marble, we must absolutely do that first and foremost within ourselves, is our inner map and compass course. And make sure that the magnetic force is aligned with your highest, truest, best, purest self for good and not evil. It goes both ways. The fine line there. And that's what I hear you saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is a magnetic force.
It is.
And it's invisible.
Yep. And you can't see it, but you're drawn to it for whatever reason. And you just got to do that back azimuth check or, do a compass check. Because I know, the first thing they teach us when we're doing map and compass, you have to get a pace count. And you have to do it uphill, downhill with a heavy, laden pack, heavy laden pack, a light pack, so you know what your pace count is. And so, for example, like for me to walk 100 yards is, and this is just arbitrary numbers, it's 78 paces with going uphill with a heavy pack. So I know in Vietnam, they would have these little bead counters to know how far they went, and they're called ranger beads. And you push a bead up that shows you, okay, I've walked, and there's 10 beads. So when you've done all 10 of them, you've walked 1,000 yards, right? So that way you keep pace count of where you are relative, so you don't have to keep pulling out the map and the compass. So you say, you say, hey, I want to go to that mountaintop, which is 7 miles away. I'm going to go on a kickboard, Uber, or whatever. The goal is to get there. The plan will change, but the goal hasn't changed. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you've got to know your pace count and what kind of load are you carrying in order to be accurate in your time and distance. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. And again, we can just parlay that and use that same template for our mind and our heart. And again, the unconscious, subconscious, and conscious minds is know exactly where you are. in your mind and in your heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think is required of that? Is that a daily thing?
Absolutely. It's actually a moment by moment thing. So we can the human brain can only handle one concept, one word at 1/10 of a second at a time. That's not a whole lot. You can't do it simultaneously. 1/10 of a second, love or hate, choose. Can't be both. Try it. It kind of hurts. Ow, ow, ow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool.
So it's moment by moment, 1/10 of a second. And so we can be triggered we can be unconsciously triggered up to 1/500th of a second to a past trauma from childhood without any conscious awareness. And that can happen up to 7 seconds. And this is the neuroscience stuff that I've learned. And it fascinates me. So how does 1/10 of a second beat 1/500th? Can't.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's mathematically impossible.
Right. So this is moment by moment self-check superconsciousness. Where are you on the map within yourself? The rest is a cakewalk, no pun intended. Heavy pack, light pack, medium pack, 6-pack.
No pun intended, that's perfect.
Yeah. Bottle of vodka, 6-pack. I'm walking up that mountain. Okay. I'm running up that. I'm dancing up that mountain. Okay. That's what ends up happening. Yeah. You're like, what? Bam. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
That's funny.
Is moment by moment is understanding what's really going on behind the scenes. So there's so much more that meets the eye that we have, even with 3 eyes, the third eye, that we have no conscious awareness of. And that's why I love this stuff so much, because, it's not rocket science, it's brain science. It's understanding basic brain function, because the mind is the brain in action. And so it's a daily practice, a moment by moment practice, and really understanding the anatomy of unconscious fear and where these fears come from. And they're the traumas based on the perceptions that we create as early as, well, for me, it was like 1.5 years old, like around 2 years old. In general, around 2 years old, the human brain is developed, the conscious mind is engaged. And so that's where it all goes awry. That's the whole Peter Pan thing. After 2, life is over. Why? Because now we have the ability to imagine, but a lot of our imaginations are self-defeat, are fear-based. So it's fascinating. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we prep the environment before we even show up to the environment.
Exactly. Based on all those perceptive filters.
Yeah, and past experiences, whether good and bad.
Yes.
Where, then that brings up an interesting point of view, is when does someone become, the optimist, the pessimist, or the realist, or the idealist? How does that intertwine? I'm sure that's a podcast for another time, but it definitely is interesting to see that evolve. Yes.
Now, I can only just quick answer. There are 4 basic personality types. That, I don't, is mysterious to me. And it is true. There's the judgmental person, there's the doer person or producer type person, there's the performer person, like the public speaker person or actor person, salesperson, and then there's the visionary. And there are 4 basic personality types that I've learned about, similar to the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion. And a lot of what you'll see, but I personally have no idea how that is formulated. What creates that? We can see DNA, genetics, belief systems. Oh my God, astronomy. Like, there's so many factors. See, again, mysterious.
Yeah, my niece asked me the other day, she's like, hey, what do you think of astronomy? I go, I think it's a mysterious part of our DNA. She's like, wow, that's the best answer I've ever heard. I go, well, I think there's something there.
There is.
I read an article a while back, I'm a Taurus, right? And whatever your sign may be, if you go look, and I was sharing this with my wife the other day, I go, if you look up to the stars and you see where the Taurus constellation is. The article claimed that, when you were born under these signs, these are the cosmic energies and the cosmic, whatever you want to call it, is what you're made of, right? From that constellation. And so that's what gives you those characteristics and this and the other. I was like, oh, that's a good supposition. And I didn't dismiss it as malarkey, because, I'm a strong Christian, and I mean, I don't always have the right Christian words. I cuss, and I think unpure thoughts at times, so I take it easy on myself.
You're human.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, man, there's so much that we don't know that it influences us that we just need to take a step back and say, all right, man, we're good. God, you want to put that in my life? Great. I don't know what you're trying to teach me, but all right, I'm game. Let's do this,
Okay, you just taught me something, enlightened me there, is that resonates with me to a certain degree. If I believe everything's energy, then it would matter with astronomy. And now I was just researching, I love the pyramids and the Egyptian, how they were so addicted to astronomy. And the pyramids, like the way they were able to build those pyramids with just manual labor. But that resonates with me to some degree. Again, I still can't explain it, and that's okay, because we don't want to waste too much time. I don't waste too much time really understanding. It just has to feel right. It has to go, I have to go, that makes sense to me. That makes sense. That feels interesting, resonates, feels good. Like there has to be something to it. But I'm not really. It's, there's so many different factors that create each unique human. But what we're not unique in is the physicality, the human suit. We're not unique
the biology,
in the brain,
all
in the
the
biology.
same.
Yeah, thank you. Physiology, biology, neurology. I mean, of course, we have different brain scans, but if the human brain is a human brain, like the car engine is a car engine, then we have.
I got you.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, that's some of the stuff that I help other companies with too. Is I tell people, there's all this stuff for the physical, there's all this stuff for the psychological, but there's not a whole lot for the spiritual, or spiritualogical. I don't even know if that's a word.
That's a word.
But,
I mean, it's not a word, but I love that word. That's great.
Well, and I say it from a veteran health type stuff, all the veteran network. And really, 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 really good friend of mine, Chad Robichaux, is doing great stuff for faith-based organizations for veterans.
Yes.
And getting legislation passed and doing a lot of stuff. And those are things. And then guys like Chad are said, hey, here's something that's been neglected. Let's inject this into the Veterans Network, because we've tried the pills.
Yep.
And there's caustic cocktails. We've tried the sit down with a counselor, and as well as I do, people will BS their counselor all day long.
Absolutely.
And so the counselor can't make any progress if the person's not being honest with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you've got the spiritual side. So I think those three pillars need to be addressed, and I think we neglect one, and we don't tend to it as much as we should. So, I think from, and I know we're going from astrological to spiritual to this and the other, but I think there is, again, that mystery, just like a DNA helix is spun with the 46 chromosomes. Those are the things that make us who and what we are. Yeah. And have you heard of I think it's called the Carl Jung theory?
Oh yeah, Carl Jung. Which theory is it? Because I don't.
It's the 46 and 2.
Oh no, I don't know that one.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Steve Ralston. He's the other podcast I did. It's called Soft Bad Monkey, and he turned me on to it. He's like, he goes, basically it's 46 and 2. So 46 chromosome. Carl Jung, his supposition is that you become God-like in terms of awareness, not God-like, I make decisions of life or death, but you become conscious of yourself, and you attain this enlightenment that is to help yourself and the rest of the human race to wake up. I guess you could call it the Bill Murray syndrome. I don't know if you ever saw that Netflix documentary on him.
No.
That Bill Murray. You need to, if you don't have it, look it up.
Okay.
Bill Murray goes around and wakes people up, saying, "Hey, this just doesn't matter."
Wow, it's so
certain
great.
things and it's so simple.
It's so simple.
I think it's just there's a lot to it that we don't know and don't understand, and I don't think people have connected the dots in a holistic way, in my opinion.
No, overall, no. And, it's only in the past 20 years that we even know so much about brain science and actually started to put that into the mix. It's like, hello, right? We know less about the human brain than we do of history and of the world. And that's so crazy, but I love this 46 and 2. I totally agree with that. The godliness within. Yeah, and it's all based off, you were talking about the 4 personality types. I'm going to look that up for the Wizard of Oz because I think you're right. There's a lot there. But, there's 325 different archetypes, right? And so you can narrow it down to the top 12, and you can look up the archetypes and stuff like that, which is cool. But it's interesting how it goes from macro to micro. There's 325, there's 12, and now there's 4 that you're saying. But then if you go back and you look at the numbers, there's 46 chromosomes plus 2 means that, that's the next evolution that we're on, and you've said that word throughout this podcast is the evolution of ourselves, and not so much like, coming out of a slime pit and becoming an amoeba, becoming a human, but more the evolution of the spiritual, the conscious, and the subconscious is the way I'm taking it. Absolutely, and I love the spiritual aspect, especially as a spiritual intuitive. That is my whole shtick. Like, I knew I was a spiritual being in a human, very limiting human suit at some level. And so I love this whole, what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more. That it's a combination of aspects that give us the most amount of freedom, inner freedom and peace and compassion and love to make this world a better place. We come here, and that's what I believe. I really believe we're all here for reasons. And the reasons for making it better and to grow and be enlightened. Absolutely. Okay, Steve, man, we have gone from one end of the spectrum to the other end, back again, and this has been incredible.
As always.
So in the least amount of words, well, not the least amount of words, but I mean, today, with everything that we talked about, what is your message that you want, to instill and get across for our listeners?
Wow. That's, I think, I post, I have the rules of engagement, and, I think the biggest thing is just the most simplest plan is usually the best plan. And just being kind to yourself and develop a simple plan instead of overcomplicating it and overthinking it. So just, I guess the simplicity of movement is what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and I am so enthralled with this magnetic force and the inner compass. So the thing that
we need to talk more about that.
Yeah, I mean, so if you want to be a prosperity, happy, dream, healthy magnet, that's my whole shtick, is have the ability to unconsciously magnetize goodness, things that make you happy. And it's not materialism. It's not just materialism. Is if every human being on the planet feels a sense of unconditional love and worthiness within self first, it's a no-brainer that this would, right, magnetize good. So it lies in the unconscious and subconscious mind. All of the miracles and the magic lie there. And when you get that handled, you have this inner compass and magnetism for abundance, prosperity, love, health, wealth, relationships, love, romance, sex, everything, you name it. It's all there. And that's what I really want people to get, is this inner magnetism. So life is quite simple and most enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think if I was to sum it up, and I absolutely love that, and you're absolutely right. I'd say foster humility and grant or extend grace.
Yes.
because those are outward expressions, inward and both outward. Because when you foster that humility, you're staying grounded. You're not getting full of hubris. And then when you grant or extend grace, you're saying, hey, you know what? I love you despite yourself. I don't necessarily like you right now, but, I'm extending grace because grace has been given to me.
Yes.
So I think that would be my closing thoughts, is just foster humility and extend grace, or extend grace where you can. Because we all need that. And it's just being kind.
Yes, thank you for that. And I would love to
You're welcome.
Oh, you know what, Steve, thank you so much for being so beyond belief, phenomenally, astronomically extraordinary. And
right back at you, sister. You've helped me a lot today, and I can't thank you enough.
Same here. So such great conversations and it's so poignant at these times and what we're all going through. And I'm going to say it. Hope to have you back sooner than later.
Yeah,
right?
Let's not wait as long as I did last time. But
yes.
Well, thank you again, Miss Karen Lovely. Awesome as always. Made great progress, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. And then I will put all your contact information in the description, and keep doing what you're doing, being who you're being. And thank you for, even though you're a retired Navy SEAL, you are still of grand service to humanity and to the world. And I am honored to be your friend, and that I'm so, what's the word? I'm so in gratitude for all that you do for humanity in the world. So thank you so much.
Oh, my honor, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you all. And I'm wishing you all your dreams come true. Karen Lovely at Gmail, hashtag Max Perdiem, maxperdiem1@gmail.com, correct? Oh my God, I heard
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there it is. Woo! Thank you all so much.